play for the national title next week. Let's go to the Titan More Hotline, courtesy of Comfort Temp, and we're joined by our college football analyst, Brent Beaird. Good morning, Brent. How you doing?
Well, I'm excited because I got to see Billy Napier and Mike Norvell in person on Monday and Wednesday. I'm also excited because it's 100 days until kickoff. And this time next week, which makes me even more excited, is we very well may have a preseason magazine in our hands. Shane, how about that?
There you go. Some good reading material. Let everybody know you probably saw Billy over at Sawgrass. He was
I
there,
did.
I guess, on Monday. Tell us what you heard there.
Well, I mean, I've obviously seen him in person several times, and every time that happens, I mean, I've always been impressed with his humility and his transparency. So I think he feels much better about the program. I think he feels like he's got a handle on his roster. We talked about the Miami game, obviously, first, and I mean, he said all the right things about that, about the rivalry and how excited he is to have that game at the first of the season. Summer Rae has begun this year. Talked about Trey Wilson and how much he liked Trey and how much he has improved, how excited he is about Pup Howard. Obviously, the linebacker coming in from South Carolina said Pup is 6'4", 240. So he is very pleased that we're trying to get some sanity to this recruiting calendar. I got amused at him. I asked him about how much it's going to help him to have all the analysts be able to coach on the field. He said, well, frankly, probably for just about all the college teams, they've been doing that anyway, which I'm sure is probably true. Talked about helmet communication and how he thought that was a really good idea. Said that they tried it in the spring game and it worked well, he thought. Said Graham Mertz is one of the brightest quarterbacks he's ever worked with. Had a lot of good things to say about DJ Lagway. So I wanted to make that brief, but that's kind of what we got from Billy on Monday night, which went fine.
The SEC, if people aren't aware of this, but is no longer on CBS. That spot is now to the Big Ten. SEC will be ESPN and ABC, and we will no longer have the CBS music that goes to the Big Ten.
Yeah, but people need to know that the iconic theme for the SEC that starts every broadcast, that really lets you know that things are about to get serious when that song came on. And I think what this tells us is, as the SEC did not own that song, so now it goes to the Big Ten, and the Big Ten game is going to be at 3:30, not the SEC game. And there will be a lot of people tuning in at 3:30 expecting to see the SEC, but the SEC now has a new logo. Also, you can find that on Twitter easily. But just wanted to mention that about the iconic theme that will be going to the Big Ten. Shane, I don't have to like that, do I? And frankly, I don't like it.
What's interesting, though, is we all know that the playoffs is going to the 12-team playoff, but we're going to have some conflict with schedules with the National Football League in playoff time.
Yeah, on December the 21st, the NFL is going to have two games, and that obviously is going to be the beginning of the playoff. And Bill Hancock said that the college football playoff is not planning to move the first round games off of that Saturday. So look, at some point, the playoff just needs to do what they want to do. If there's some conflict, there's conflict. People are probably going to channel surf anyway. in situations like that, they will probably go back and forth. So at some point, you just got to set your schedule and go with it.
Sure. Week 0, the semis will kick off in Dublin, Ireland. I was speaking with their equipment guy last week, Jason Basin, who was here for a little bit. He's already been over there. He said they're going to be playing on a beautiful field. And then Georgia Tech, I think Florida State has a bye week the next week, or they play later. But Georgia Tech has to come back from Dublin and play the very next Saturday. Uh, I still don't know why they don't call this week 1, but they're calling it week
Yeah.
0.
Yeah. Well, I think they found something that they thought was cute, and they've just stayed with it. Is what it amounts to. And remember too, FSU plays Boston College on Labor Day night, so that's kind of how the early schedule will be. What is unusual about FSU is they actually, then everybody's going to have 2 bye weeks. FSU is actually going to have 3. So that is, and Mike Norvell told us last night that they're getting creative in how they're going to rest the players and work the players. He's never dealt with that before, frankly, and I'm sure no one else has either. But frankly, Shane, that's a nice problem to have, is 3 bye weeks.
Yeah, the regular season pretty much kicks off Thursday, August 29th, with Dion and Colorado hosting
Right.
North Dakota State.
Yeah, that will be interesting to see if things have calmed down a bit at Colorado. And then the following night, you've got Temple at Oklahoma, TCU at Stanford. Obviously, you've got a slew of games on Saturday. And then what's going to be really fun is getting back on Sunday, September the 1st. And that night, you've got USC and LSU in Las Vegas. And then, as we mentioned, Boston College at Florida State on Monday night. So that's going to be a great week of games.
Yeah, it really will be for sure. Brent, we had a couple of texts come in and in your notes referring to what pretty much all the college folks are talking about, revenue sharing now. What's the latest from Congress?
Well, what is happened as of late, obviously, would be it looks like this big House versus the NCAA that is going to be settled, and we understand it may be even settled within the next couple of weeks. And by doing that, that is going to allow the NCAA and college football to deal with retroactively what they're going to be owing. And I think it's in the billions, frankly, but they're going to have some kind of a 10-year plan in order to deal with that. So they are excited that they can kind of start getting that behind them. And once that is settled, and again, we think that's coming up within the next 2 or 3 weeks, then they're going to be working on the possibility of revenue sharing. I've seen things that have said, okay, I've got the numbers here, that documents have been sent to league presidents that detail the settlement from the House versus NCAA, $2.776 billion. And then there's talk about $21 million. I think this is per school. I'm not sure how that's going to be, and no one else really does either, shared at this point, but it's a revenue sharing projection. There is from the NCAA, some kind of a new enforcement arm to police the collectives. So, and there was a real warning to the presidents that if these lawsuits were not going to be settled, that some of these situations may end up in bankruptcy. So I hope that made sense. A lot of this is so new, and there's so many different things going on with this that it's not easy to keep up with it. But again, we may very much have revenue sharing, collective bargaining. I mean, basically being NFL light, possibly a lot sooner than we thought we would.
So everybody, concrete builds firm foundations for generations. You stand on it. We stand by. We got Brent Beaird on the Titan hotline, courtesy of Comfort Tent. We'll have Edgar Thompson, second part of the show. This is a text from 954. Says, good morning, Shane. It's a shame you don't have Buddy on this morning to explain his tweets from last night regarding UF media and disconnect with the football program. Maybe next time he's on, you can ask him. I don't really know much about that. I do know that I believe Rick Hurtado, who has been the head of sports information, is going to work for the Miami Dolphins.
Correct.
Look, that doesn't mean there's been any disconnect. I mean, he's going to work for the greatest sports organization, the National Football League. I mean, anytime you can do that, you go. So, and Rick is as good a dude as you will find. So, do you know much about that, Brent?
I know that I saw him Monday night and thanked him for what happened. I knew what was going on then. I didn't say anything about it. But look, he has been a dream to work with. I think the world of him and really wish him well in a lot of ways. I really hate that he's going. But these things happen. People get other jobs along that line. So that's basically what I know about it would be him leaving. I don't know if if they're going to have a nationwide search type thing, if they're going to promote from within. We don't know that yet. They might certainly, but my thing is, I hate we're losing Rick because I think he did a tremendous job.
Yeah, he's a good guy. He served, I think, in Iraq. Just a good dude, and wish him well. But as good a guy as you'll find for sure. The national title game, I believe, this year is in Atlanta. I don't know where it is the following year, but then I think Vegas is going to host it in 2026. Correct?
They are. Yes, as a matter of fact, that's something we wonder if we would ever see happen, but it is. Yes, Atlanta in 2026 is going to be in Miami. So we've got Atlanta, we've got Miami, and then we're going to have Las Vegas that is coming up. Obviously, everybody bids on these things too. And look, I think it's probably going to be maybe in Dallas also that's coming up. New Orleans. I'm looking at some dates in the future. It looks like New Orleans in 28, Dallas in 29, Miami in 30 at that point. So I don't think they want to go too far out with that. So and I believe the Las Vegas is actually in 2027 is when that is. So, but yes, that's kind of what it looks like the rest of the decade.
Yeah. Norm Carlson passed away. I'm sure you had a lot of, I don't say run-ins, but as good a man as you can think of. Got any Norm Carlson stories for us?
No, Norm was one of the best SIDs that I ever worked with, along with Claude Felton of Georgia. They really understood what it was like to work with the media and really build relationships with them. Norm was a mentor to so many guys in the media that you and I both know. He was very much a historian. A lot of guys, when they wanted to write a story, if they weren't sure about the history, they would call Norm, and he would know. And the other thing that was impressive was, I mean, he basically, and look, they didn't have obviously the social media we do today, but he was very instrumental in getting Coach Spurrier his name out there for the Heisman. And Coach Spurrier was very grateful for that. And Norm was also instrumental in coming up with a name for the swamp.
Yeah.
Coach Spurrier was trying, and you probably know that story, was trying to come up with a name for it, and that's what and Norm helped him with that. So, but look, he had a good life. Died at 90 years old. We talked about Hootie Ingram last week. He also died at 90 years old. But needless to say, Shane, that there will never be another Norm Carlson, will there?
No, and if people aren't aware of that story, basically, Norm and Coach were talking about trying to come up with a name for the stadium, and Mr. C pointed to a plaque hanging in his office, and on the plaque it said, "quote When you are up to your ass in alligators, it's difficult to remember that your initial objective was to drain the swamp." And so that's when the swamp was born.
Yeah, yeah.
So very, very cool, and our thoughts and prayers go out to his family. All right, Brent, let's run around the league real quick. Alabama's picked up a few kids in the transfer portal here recently.
Yeah, they have Penn State's King Mack. He's a safety, is one of those. Michigan State offensive lineman Gino Vandemark is another. So those are two guys that they added. By the way, they are going to Wisconsin this year. That's going to be on the big noon game at Fox. So that will be a little warm up in Wisconsin, playing that game at noon. And by the way, Ajay Hall, who was at Alabama, he was a wide receiver at Alabama and Texas, is going to Central Florida. UCF has been very active in the portal, and I encourage folks to take a look at that. Google that situation when they get a chance. So they've got a lot of big names in the portal. So we will see if that turns into wins.
Yeah. UCF's an interesting program now. We had Trent Whittemore on yesterday. Obviously, then went with them going to the Big 12. He says they're recruiting different type of athletes now. The Gators, if you haven't heard, got a commitment from Cormani McLean from Colorado. I guess he will be joining the program here next week when they start back. Your thoughts on that, Brent?
Well, I mean, it's kind of a mixed bag. I think it's a risk reward. And the reason we say that is, and look, this is documented, it's not rumor. I mean, Corey McLean is a tremendous athlete, and he will provide a lot of good depth defensively in the secondary. But frankly, he has had a habit and tradition of missing practices, missing classes. I mean, he's one of these kids that's bold and brash and so forth. But there are a lot of people think he may grow up in the Gator system, and that may do him some good. He's 6'2", 6'4" wingspan. They think he needs to add about 15 to 20 pounds too. But and I tell you what, we don't have time to do it today. But when you really look at the guys that Florida has added in the positions, I mean, they've added like the number one quarterback in Lagway, and you've got L.J. McCray, who is number one in his position, and you kind of go down the line, and they're either number one or they're in the top 10. So give Florida a lot of credit, Shane, for the guys that they have brought in. And I don't know if people taking time to look at that, but it's really an impressive bunch.
Yeah, I mean, I've always said I think you cannot question Billy's and his staff's evaluation process.
Yes.
The best players on our roster, even through the losing years, last couple years, have been his players. And now he has the roster, I would say, close to where he wants it.
Yes.
And now you got to go play. And speaking of that, I mean, we've talked about it daily. I saw 24/7 Sports came out with the hardest college football schedules of 2024.
Yeah. Yeah.
Florida's 1, Arkansas is 2, South Carolina's 3, Oklahoma's 4, Vanderbilt's 5, Georgia Tech at 6, Mississippi State 7, Georgia's at 8, Alabama's 9, Clemson 10, Kentucky 11, Southern Cal at 12, Michigan 13, UCLA 14, and Wisconsin 15. But shoot, about 90% of those teams are from the Southeastern Conference. So
yeah, and real quick, what's significant with that is Georgia's in the top 10, safe to say last year, Shane, you remember that schedule? That was not a top 10 schedule by any means last year for Georgia.
No. And speaking of Georgia, obviously, Carson Beck, a lot of people think he may be the first pick of the draft. Had a really good year last year. Are you hearing anything up there? Any concerns? I know they have good backups, but when you lose Brock Bowers and Ladd McConkey, those two pretty good wideouts.
Oh, they are. There's no doubt about that. Now they've got Dominic Lovett from Missouri, who really is. He came into his own in the spring. They got Ra Thomas. They've got tight ends they can throw to. I think they'll be okay. They've got some young guys they really like, and they come around. But they've just recruited so well, and that is. Speaking of receivers, they got a kid named Thomas Blackshear, 3-star wide receiver that committed. He is from Savannah. Chose Georgia over Florida State and Tennessee. So no, I think overall they will be fine because of all the depth they've just gathered. They've got a 61% return production, and you can kind of take that the way you want to. As far as our listeners are concerned, it's good to have a lot of guys coming back. But as I've also heard it said, if you had a lot of bad players, do you want all of them back?
Yeah, for sure. Somebody, let me see if I can pull it up here. Facebook, it goes away a lot, but I think it was Joseph had a question, a comment. I think it was Joe. If we can hang on here a second so I can pull it up.
Sure.
But it was saying how 9 of the top 15 are SEC schools with the most
Right.
difficult schedules. How many do y'all see getting into the playoffs? I'm going to go out on a limb right now without really looking at people's schedule. I'm going to say at least 4 SEC teams get in.
Oh yeah, I agree with that totally. I think you've got some combination of Georgia, Alabama, Texas. Let's not forget Texas. Ole Miss. Now that's 4, and frankly, I think with who they've got coming back, I think Missouri may be in that situation too. So no, Shane. I'm with you totally. I think they will at least have 4.
Yeah. All right, Brent, before we let you go, what is the latest on Florida State and some of the other schools trying to leave the ACC?
Well, they are still in the process. Again, the thing I keep hearing is Florida State is they've got they still go back and forth a bit with all this, someone suing somebody else, but the bottom line behind the scenes is what they're trying to do is to reach a settlement and a compromise to this money, so that ACC can get a little bit, and then Florida State won't have to pay as much. And again, and I talked to my Florida State source about this other day, and he said, pay attention to August the 15th, because if they're leaving, they've got to make an announcement by then. That's the reality of it. Now, the other thing that's going on, and this is a lot quieter than FSU, is Clemson is in the process of doing the same thing. And there's also some rumblings about North Carolina would probably be third, but they are not as organized in their effort as Florida State and Clemson are. Again, I mean, I still hear the Big Ten for Florida State. I'm not ruling the SEC out. I mean, we just don't know at this point. Clemson, the same thing. But that's kind of where it is. So, I mean, we're about to get into June, so we're close to that August date. So just keep that in mind that we will hear something before then.
Yeah, Joseph says on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mellon Law. I'm not judging anyone based off their experience with Deion Sanders, a fresh start, new slate. Yeah, that's regarding McLean. So look, he was highly recruited. Don't know much about him, but if Billy and those guys think he is a good fit for us, we'll see.
That's right.
He's obviously a pretty good athlete. Put him over and see what happens.
Sure.
Brent, any nuggets before we get you out of here?
Well, I think that a little bit of news from Texas A&M. They're on the recruiting swing, not only with players, but they're also making all the club meetings. Mike Elko's mentioned a couple times. They've got a kid named Terry Bussey. He's only 17 years old. That is one of the better athletes that everybody wanted. He's from Texas, and he was really praising him, thinking that if they give him time, that he's going to be very good. Also, but and I'll end with this. I had a chance to be in the interview session with Mike Norvell yesterday. I was very impressed with Norvell. He handled himself very well. They're very excited about the trip to Ireland, playing Georgia Tech. They're going to actually stay a day after the game is over in order to have the players see the sights in that area. So that's going to be interesting. But I think he is very pleased about his football team to see where they're going to be going. So, but we will keep folks up to date. We've got about, again, 100 days to kick off. Preseason magazine should be out next week, so we will keep our eyes on that and kind of see where that goes. And glad you've got Edgar on. I saw Edgar Monday night. It was good to see him, and he does a lot of good work.
Yeah, he does. Before we let you go, Mark on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plum, says, who are the broadcasters for the 3:30 SEC games on ESPN? I would assume that Fowler and Herbstreit will be part of that, depending on which game it is.
Correct.
I don't know if they've come out with their different groups, the sideline girl or sideline guy with the color and the play-by-play. We'll probably get that here later in the summer.
I'm going to be really interested to see, are they going to keep Brad Nessler and Gary Danielson together? I have heard that Danielson actually is going to stay with the SEC, but I'm not sure about that. But like you said, that will be announced, I'm thinking sometime in maybe the next couple of weeks.
Yeah. And then David asked, why is UCF more successful than USF? Well, A, they're in a better conference. B, they have their own site. They got their own stadium. But USF has a new coach, fun kind of offense to play in. They had a really good year last year. They're going to be building their own campus facility, which will help them. But they're still in the American, while UCF is getting a ton of money from the Big 12 now. So, would you agree with that, Brent?
Yeah, I would. But folks also got to remember, unless this changes, Gus Malzahn still is average between UCF and Auburn a minimum of 4 losses a year. I'm not saying they haven't made progress, because I think they have, and this is a good recruiting class. But we'll see. We'll see if that average changes over the next few years too.
Brent, good stuff as always. Have a great weekend, my man, and we'll talk to you next week.
Good. Always enjoy it, Shane. Take care.
That's Brent Beaird, our college football analyst and Heisman Trophy voter. Join us on the Titanmore hotline, courtesy of Comfort Temp. Comfort Temp Heating and Air is looking for an enthusiastic, motivated comfort specialist to join their team. $1,000 signing bonus after 90 days. Awesome benefits and the opportunity to grow with the winning team. Apply today at comforttemp.com. Comfort Temp Heating and Air. Comfort is our business. Peace of mind is our promise. Take a quick time out. Come back. We'll be joined by Edgar Thompson from the Orlando Sentinel. Get his thoughts on Billy Napier's presser. Rick Hurtado going to the Dolphins, and get his thoughts on the PGA Championship. You're watching and listening to PodUp with Matthews in the Morning. We want to take this moment to thank our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our premium sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, the only official injury and accident law attorneys of the Florida Gators. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. QC Kinetics, live pain-free with QC Kinetics. Campus USA, put some star power to work in your financial life with Campus USA Credit Union.
Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise.
Dave & Buster's, eat, drink, play, watch. Our gridiron sponsors are UF Bookstores, Silverback Concrete, Ruse Ogre State Farm Insurance, Radware, F45, Quality Plumbing, Our touchdown sponsors are Adams Ribs, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Okido America, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, Big Mills Cheesesteak, McDonald's of Gainesville, 84 Lumber, Dowling Signs, Baker's Sporting Goods. If you're interested in promoting your business on the show, call Freddie at 352-284-3733. If you like what we're doing here, make sure to follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Pro football legend Emmitt Smith understands your joint pain.
It does not surprise me that there are a ton of people out there that's in pain.
That's why Emmitt is such a proponent of QC Kinetics, offering real lasting joint pain relief with non-surgical, all-natural biologic treatments.
Whether it's a joint pain, ankle pain, shoulder pain, neck pain, back pain, hip pain, any kind of pain, the body eventually will break down when it's under that much stress.
That stress can cloud your judgment to the point that you'll just say yes to the scalpel or yes to another prescription of pain pills. But maybe it's time for a second opinion from QC Kinetics.
The reason why I would recommend this is because the natural biologics that QC Kinetics is providing you gives your body a chance to naturally heal itself.
Restorative, regenerative solutions are here. Get lasting relief and live your life.
Call QC Kinetics, 352-400-4550. That's 352-400-4550. QC Kinetics, 352-400-4550.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Ruse Ogre State Farm offers a team of dedicated insurance professionals ready to help life go right with the right insurance options for you and your family. Visitogreinsurance.com. Give them a call at 352-240-1779. Go back to the Titan More hotline, courtesy of Comfort Temp, our man Edgar Thompson from the Orlando Sentinel. How you doing, Edgar?
I'm good. Good to see you. Sorry, you sound a little under the weather, my man.
Yeah, I don't. I'm battling. I'm playing. I'm not injured. I'm just hurt today. So we'll battle through it. But real quick, before we jump into Gator stuff, how was your golf trip to Ireland?
It was incredible on every level. It's I was telling you to check out my Facebook post on it. Doesn't do it justice. The courses were just world class. The incredible accommodations. I went with my 85-year-old father, his dear friend, and his son, and we just had a phenomenal time. Luckily, his son drove. I thought we should have been on the right side of the road about 30 times in my head. We would have been like in the hospital if I'd been behind the wheel. And he's a great dude, so I made a friend out of it. And it was just a blast, man. And the golf over there is it's different, it's unique. One hole out of 72 it rained though. That's it.
Really?
It rained one hole the first day we played, that was it.
Wow,
So
you're lucky.
we had such phenomenal weather. I'm just blessed. I got a whole new attitude on life, gratitude, and feeling pretty good about things right now. So, but I'm sure that'll change soon enough.
Yep. All right. Well, speaking of attitude, you were up at Sawgrass. I think it was Monday night for the Gator Caravan with Billy Napier. I know y'all had a little question and answer period with him. Just, Billy's going to say what he's going to say. Just your thoughts on what you got out of that.
I think Billy's getting more comfortable with the media, more comfortable with all of us, more comfortable with the program. I thought he was pretty good and laying out how things are and how he sees things and where the program is. He keeps talking about this thing's built. It was one of the questions Dan Hicken asked him from Jacksonville TV guy. Excuse me. And, I think he's much more confident. We'll see how it translates to the field. I'm more confident talking to Billy this offseason than I was entering the offseason that he might figure this thing out and that he's got a team that, is going to be more capable. He talked about how they really don't need to hit the spring portal as hard as they have, or the portal in general. I feel like he feels like they can be a little more picky. He feels like the NIL system now a year into Florida Victorious is up and running much better than it was. He feels like the game's changing every 6 months on him. So it's been very difficult. It's been a moving target. And he walked into a challenging situation just overall, the way the state of the program was, and then he's inheriting, the portal. I mean, he's walking into the portal, which he already had to deal with, but he's dealing with the SEC level, but the NIL program that wasn't in place as well as it needed to be, obviously. And I don't know, man. He's feeling better. He talked about, but it was funny. He said he was having lunch with Rick Hurtado, the SID there, and a PR person for football. And he was watching a guy, they were oceanside out in the surf, just getting knocked down by waves and getting up, knocked down. He said, I kind of felt like that guy for a couple of years. So it was kind of a funny anecdote. We'll see if he's found his footing. I am, again, much more confident speaking with him this offseason, seeing the team, seeing, what's going on. Look, man, it's a brutal schedule. We've talked about it. They still have roster challenges, whether it's receiver. A lot of guys have to prove themselves at various positions, the offensive line. So that's what matters is 12 Saturdays, man, coming up in 3 months.
Yeah. Speaking of receivers, got a text, Titan Mark text from William. Edgar, what are you hearing about the wide receiver from Arizona State that's in the transfer portal? I saw we're one of his 3 top schools. And also, speaking of wide receivers, Michael wanted to know on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing, is Andy Jean healthy?
Well, that's a constant question with Andy Jean. He seems to be injured more than he's on the field right now, and that's unfortunate. I think we saw in Kentucky, I mean, perhaps the only bright spot of that entire day were the 2 plays he made. He had like a 31-yard catch and like a 25-yard end around, or maybe in reverse, but it was 2 chunk plays. Showed some feet, showed something, and then we never saw him again. So he's been hurt pretty consistently. Maybe it's a hammy now. Last year, I think it was a PCL. We'll see. I mean, he's got, time, and they definitely need not more playmakers, obviously, to go with Trey Wilson. Elijah Blades, productive guy at Arizona State, 10 touchdowns the last 2 years, 1,500 yards, I believe, about receiving. He's visiting. We'll see if they get him. There's other reporters have said he's apparently got a back injury or something he's working through medically. But we didn't mention it, or you might have already, Kamani McLean's commitment yesterday, the Lakeland 5-star cornerback who spurned the Gators and ended up committing to Miami, then leaving them in the dust and going out to play for Coach Prime, where things did not work out. One of the photos, it's funny, that I used for the story I wrote was Coach Prime on one of those, what do you call it, a Segway? Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Get on. I'd never get on one of those. I'd kill myself. But he had the foot issue. Remember the foot problem he's had part of his foot amputated, I believe, even. It's incredible. But he was zipping around on his, and he's like on his Segway with Kamani McLean face to face, like chewing him out on the first day of practice. So I think he had a rough ride out there in Boulder, and he's come home. Now he's got some things to prove, it sounds like, behind the scenes, whether it's accountability, whether it's school. But Billy, he's going to hold these kids accountable. He's created a culture, and he's going to have to fall in line or he won't be here. And he's coming as a preferred walk-on. And it's interesting, Shane, because now with NIL and all these things, you can have guys walk on, give them NIL money, and then they can take care of their expenses, scholarships, etc. And you can have like a scholarship level 5-star recruit like Hermione McLean is a walk-on now. It's an interesting twist.
Yeah, it really is. A little healthier lifestyle with our bold, flavorful smoothies and our amazing food. Tropical smoothie. When you eat better, you feel better. We got Edgar Thompson here on the Titan MR hotline. This is a text on the Titan MR text line that says, oh, this was regarding Buddy Martin. Hang on. This one says, I think McLean will be limited to nickel situation this year if he plays. Your thoughts, Brett from Jax. I don't really, who knows? I like their secondary, what they have. I like the 2 corners. I like Jackson, who comes in to spell our two corners. I like the additions that we brought from Washington, Oregon, and Tulane. We'll see. McLean's he's got to earn his spot to get on the field for the most part. Speaking of Rick,
He's slightly built too. He's only 165 pounds,
yeah,
6'2", but he's got a 6'4" wingspan. And Corey Bender, the reporter for On3, really good recruiting reporter, said he had 30 interceptions in high school, only 2 his senior year because guys were throwing away from him. But Max Prep's at least looking through that. He had 9 as a sophomore, 6 as a junior. Whatever he had, the guy's a ball hawk. And he has some skills. So he could factor, but there is a lot of competition in that room for sure.
Yeah, I like the room for sure. This was a text earlier regarding Buddy. They wanted him. I guess he tweeted that there was a disconnect with UF Media and the football program when Hurtado, I think, has announced that he's going to work for the Miami Dolphins. I mean, that's everybody's dream, is to go work in the National Football League. What do you know? What's Rick's responsibility? What's he going to be doing for the Dolphins?
I don't think I don't think he's gonna be their main PR guy. But I don't know. I haven't asked. Rick and I spoke a week ago, so I knew about this for a while. I don't know what that tweet was, man. I mean, really, it's not even worth digging.
Do we know who's going to take over Rick's job?
No, I think that's to be determined. Matt Hutchinson's the number 2 guy. Love Matt.
Yeah, he's great.
I'd love to see Matt moved into that position. He's 27, maybe whether he has the experience or not. He's fantastic. He's on top of his stuff. He's the golf guy too, so we talk a lot, and he knows his stuff, man. He works hard, that young man. I mean, he's everywhere. He's up there. He was with women's golf last week, men, and then the next morning he's hooking up with Ian Gilligan, the golfer. I did a story on end of last week. And then he's off to Purdue, and he'll be back and doing whatever. He's an animal. So, you know, he's going to be in the mix. Rick Hurtado was great to work with. He's a sweetheart of a guy. He's at the mercy of these coaches. I get upset with these guys. I'll yell at Rick about something once in a while. You know, I mean, I'm not the easiest guy to work with sometimes. But they're at the mercy of what the coach wants. Rick is in the NFL is a different animal. He worked in the NFL initially in Denver. That's how he kind of got started with the Broncos. The woman who now runs the Dolphins was in Denver with him and hired him for this position. He's from Miami. His wife's from Miami, and it's a good fit. I think he's going to miss the ease of Gainesville living compared with South Florida. Having lived there. But, you know, good for him, man. And he'll be missed here.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's talk a little PGA Championship. The second major of the year cranks up this morning in Valhalla. Who you picking to win it?
I mean, it's hard to pick against Scotty Scheffler. That's like, you know, like picking against rain in July in Gainesville. I mean, the guy is just there every week. He's going to be in the mix. Rory's coming off that great win at Quail Hollow, and then he did win the team championship. It was good because I was in Ireland when he and Shane Lowry won, and they're Irish guys, so Ireland was buzzing because of that. In fact, in the bathroom at one of the places we stayed, there's a Rory McIlroy portrait on the wall. That's how big Rory is in Ireland, man. Just at a random hotel. So he drives the hell out of the ball. He's the best driver in the game, and it's going to be wet and long. 7,600-yard course, man. That's going to be damp. Can you imagine playing some of these courses? I was looking over the holes today. The 2nd and 6th hole are going to factor big time. 500 and 490-yard par 4s. That's a par 5 for me. And then they got a 570-yard par 5 to finish. People kind of trash this course, but this course, because it's not like architectural genius or whatever. It's not a couple of the courses we played in Ireland. We played Port Marnock Golf Club a week ago Saturday. That course is fantastic. That's traditional links. Might host an Open Championship, hosted 19 Irish Opens. Probably a better course in Valhalla. We played Royal County Down May 2nd. Shane, that's why we went that week. The gentleman who put the whole trip together got us a tee time at Royal County Down in September. Only tee time on the sheet for the year available was May 2nd at 12:46
Wow.
as of September a year before. That's the reason we went that week. Those courses might be better in Valhalla. This course is a beast. It's long as hell. It's going to be soft. There are going to be 10 guys who might be able to win there. Brooks Koepka's another guy to consider. I mean, Rahm, you got to think is going to be better than he was at Augusta, where he was terrible. But how do you get bet against Scotty? The guy's on a heater. It's funny. Apparently, Tiger, I didn't see the press conference, was asked, yeah, he's kind of on a run, like playing like you used to. And Tiger kind of gave the guy a look, apparently. Like, not quite, man. I mean,
Well, look,
he Tiger.
I love Tiger, and him and Jack are the greatest of all time. But nobody will convince me that when Jack and Tiger were in their heyday, that the PGA Tour or the talent was as good as it is now.
The high end of Jack's era was probably as good as it'll ever get. I mean, the Hall of Famers, whether it's Trevino, Floyd, Johnny Miller, Weisskopf, obviously Player. The list goes on. I'm probably forgetting some guys. Arnie when he early on. I mean, Jack, Billy Casper, he had amazing Hall of Fame players at the top end, but the depth is insane. I mean, some guy we're not even talking about easily could win this week because the speed, the talent, the length of these guys is phenomenal. Scotty's amazing. He's on a run that's I'm not going to say unprecedented, but it could become. He wins this week. Suddenly he's got 2 legs of the Grand Slam, and we're talking, woo, U.S. Open at Pinehurst probably suits his game really well. So everything suits his game really well. But he just had a kid. I'm not a father. You were or are. What's that like right out of the gate in terms of the fatigue factor, the distraction? Rory files a divorce on Monday. I mean, his mind's elsewhere a bit. Brooks Koepka's coming in off a win, and he's won 3 PGAs, and this is a big, brutish golf course that he likes these. He could win. So I'm excited, man. There's a lot of storylines, and this course has produced some drama. The Rory win in 2014 over Phil. 2000 was that incredible playoff with Bob May and Tiger, which is really one of the signature tournament wins of Tiger's career, was that extra hole win against Bob May in 2000 at Valhalla. You recall that, of course. It was one of the most exciting tournaments there was. So I expect a good tournament, man. I can't wait.
Text on the Titan Mark text line from Jimmy. He says, Edgar, do you follow more of Gator softball or Gator baseball?
I like the softball better. I follow baseball. I'm working on a story on Jack. I talked to his folks last week, Jack Caglione, but I wasn't able to get Jack, so I'm kind of waiting for that. I'll probably run it before SEC tournament. His folks are great. You can see why he's such a just humble, nice young man. He signs all the autographs. It's funny, I went to Publix after the game last week, and there was a girl with a Caglione jersey that had been signed, probably 12 years old with braces. And I said, oh, Jack. And she just big smile. He's really a good dude. But the softball program, man, Tim Walton has it rolling again. He recruited that class, maybe an unprecedented recruiting class. I think all 5 or 6 of them were top 50 players. Keegan Rothrock's amazing. She's produced the pitching that they need. Mia Williams is coming on. Ava Brown, I think, I don't know if she's factoring it, but she's very good. And then you got what's the name? Corby Brett, is that the name?
Corby Otis,
Otis,
Otis. She was number 2 in the balloting for SEC Player of the Year because Jocelyn Erickson won it. So Skylar Wallace won it last year. Corby Otis is one of the 10 finalists for National Player of the Year that came out yesterday.
Yeah. So I'm mixing Brett because Corey Brett was Arnold Palmer's right-hand guy. So I'll keep mixing her. Yes, the Louisville transfer, she's been amazing. Erickson was a player of the year a year after Wallace was and had that monster year. So it's like Skylar Wallace, your 3rd best player potentially of late. And then it's really a stacked team. They're 4 seed. I think they'll roll through this regional. They'll host a super next week. Tim's got a chance, man, to win another national title. And, the program did I'm not going to say plateaued, but it took a bit of a step back the last 2 years. They did make the College World Series 2 years ago, but like as a 14 seed. And last year it has struggled. So good for him. He's as good a coach on this campus as there is.
No doubt about it. Before we get you out of here, Edgar, what stories are you working on? I know you follow Gator Golf. Men's golf team advances to play for the national title next week to defend their title. You got any other stories you're working on? Gator
Well, I'd
related?
like to do a story on John Du Bois next week. This young man was a factor last year. He struggled all season for the Gators. They put him in the lineup. He earned a spot for the regional, shot 71 yesterday, a really big round for them. And I assume he'll be in the top 5 again for nationals. He's an Orlando kid too. But I'm at softball at 11 o'clock. And then at 1 o'clock, we're talking to Parker Valby's distance coach.
Oh,
She passed 21 runners to win the 1500 last week and, just coast. And she wasn't even pushing herself. They were like, we were pacing her. And she's an absolute animal. Her and Jack Caglione are having the best seasons for a male and female athlete on campus. I don't even think there's a debate on that front.
Parker may be the most decorated female athlete ever here. I know there were some swimmers back in the day, but
Tracy
she breaks records every time she runs. It's crazy.
She's unbelievable, man. So yeah, we're going to talk to her distance coach, Chris Palmer. I don't think it's Chris, but and his wife is a coach here. Mouse, who's another of the great coaches on this campus. There are a number of them. He brought the Palmers from Alabama a few years ago because the cross country program hasn't been what he'd hoped and wasn't really pulling the distance running maybe. And now you got Parker Valby doing what she's doing. And it's Parker and her dedication and her talent, but the Palmers have really helped foster that too. So yeah, working on a lot of different sports, man. This is that time of year.
Yeah. Boys golf is 2 weeks from now. Girls nationals are next week. So I was wrong there.
Well,
Edgar, good stuff as always. Appreciate
the
your
girls
time,
didn't
man.
make it. Yeah, no problem.
Yeah.
You
That's
take
Edgar
care.
Thompson.
Get better.
Yeah, thank you. That's Edgar Thompson from the Orlando Sentinel. This Day in Sports brought to you by Campus USA Credit Union. Put some star power to work in your financial life with Campus USA Credit Union. And in 1985, some dude named Michael Jordan was named NBA Rookie of the Year. That's brought to you by Campus USA Credit Union. Hope everybody has a great day. If you're going to watch the PGA Championship, enjoy it. Maybe Gators lacrosse. We'll get to the Final Four. Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow. Take care.